target in sight. Deep in the sun-baked plains of East Africa, right on the edges of Lake Eyasi, the Hadza tribe continues to survive entirely off the grid as genuine hunter-gatherers. They represent one of the absolute last pockets of humanity keeping our most ancient traditions alive. It truly leaves you speechless. We are embedding with them today to witness firsthand how staying alive isn't a desperate struggle, but rather the natural heartbeat of their daily routine. In the dead of dawn, every hunter meticulously inspects his gear. Out here, tracking down prey means far more than simply filling empty bellies. It is a critical lifeline, an immense duty they shoulder for the vulnerable families waiting for them back at camp. The unforgiving wilderness provides absolutely everything they consume. Armed with hand-carved bows and an instinctual wisdom inherited over thousands of years, they vanish into the treacherous bush every single morning to secure their next meal. Long before the first light breaks the horizon, the expedition is already underway. Navigating jagged ridges and sprawling woodlands with their loyal hounds leading the charge, the hunting party operates in complete, eerie silence. A mere tilt of the head, a subtle hand gesture, or the faintest whisper is all they need. Out in the brush, the slightest echo could cost them the hunt, making absolute quiet their greatest weapon. These indigenous trackers decipher the landscape like an open book. A barely visible hoofprint, a slightly crushed stem, a snapped twig, or just a distinct smell carried on the breeze. Every tiny clue paints a vivid picture. They instantly know exactly what creature came through, when it was here, and precisely where it headed. Well, look who it is. Following hours of relentless pursuit, a subtle shift in the brush catches their eye. Weapons are raised with agonizing precision. The tension is palpable. The arrow cuts through the air. A perfect strike. We nailed him. Grab it, pin it down. We got him. The creature collapses almost instantly. This kind of brutal efficiency does not happen by accident. It is the culmination of a deep wilderness mastery, perfected over countless lifetimes. Out in the deep brush, standing still around a fresh kill is practically ringing the dinner bell for much deadlier apex predators. Cape buffalo, for instance, are never on the menu. They remain some of the deadliest, most aggressive heavyweights on the African continent. Recognizing who truly rules the wild is quite literally what keeps these men breathing. Let's bring this beautiful bounty home. This massive haul guarantees our survival for another day. To the Hadza, capturing prey represents so much more than acquiring calories. It is the very essence of continuity, a living classroom for the next era of hunters. It embodies the profound, unbroken bond between mankind and the earth that keeps them alive. Gathered tightly around the roaring fire, every single cut of meat is divided equally. No fancy dishes or table settings here, just raw nourishment handed from brother to brother. This feast transcends eating. It is a vital recharge of their spirits, a profound showing of mutual trust, and the ultimate unifier of their tribe. Witnessing their daily routine isn't a glimpse into the Stone Age. It is a masterclass in an entirely different human existence, a world where pure capability effortlessly trumps lazy convenience, and lifting each other up means far more than blindly hoarding wealth. They harvest exclusively what is absolutely necessary to survive the day. Flowing in perfect harmony with the changing seasons, they will wake up tomorrow and do it all over again. In our modern culture, obsessed with rushing and overconsumption, this incredible tribe offers a deeply grounding truth. Thriving on this planet isn't about dominating your environment. It is about deeply respecting it and acknowledging your humble role within the ecosystem. If you could take just one philosophy from the Hadza people to shift how you live right now, what would you choose? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, and let's start a massive discussion. Absolutely breathtaking. Tucked away in the sprawling savanna, the tribal settlement rests quietly, buzzing with a subtle energy. Tiny, handcrafted huts sit huddled up against each other, completely devoid of any grid or blueprint. Sturdy wooden poles are hammered straight into the dirt, while flexible limbs are arched into simple domes and roughly patched over with dried grass and fallen foliage. It is precisely enough to break the howling wind, and exactly enough shelter to sustain a life. Cured hides hang casually around the site, completely ignoring aesthetics to serve as a constant, raw reminder of the bloody sacrifice behind their sustenance. Just beyond the huts, the village elders and hunters gather in the dirt. Weaponry is casually tossed onto the earth, rather than mounted on walls or meticulously packed away. To these warriors, a killing tool is never a museum piece meant for show. It is a vital extension of their own arm, requiring constant tuning and relentless inspection. When they march out into the wild, there is zero itinerary.
Take a piece.
In their
It's
profound
very sweet.
worldview,
Looks
mapping out the
delicious.
future
Thank you.
is seen as arrogantly trying to command the forest's will. The searing sun blazes down, absolutely unforgiving heat. First rule of crossing paths with baboons: physical distance means nothing. It is entirely about decoding their vigilance. While a man might overpower one, these primates hold the ultimate advantage. They rule this domain, and we are merely trespassing. Move! Move! Push forward! Hold up. Freeze right there. Whenever exhaustion sets in, hydration becomes their sole medicine. It isn't about craving a drink. It is about granting their digestive system absolute rest. You won't see these tribesmen targeting apex reptiles. Instead, the river monsters serve as a breathing masterclass in profound caution. A dragged claw through the riverbank. A pool stripped of its natural current. The sudden, eerie quiet of the canopy. Every single detail speaks a dialect they understand perfectly. True mastery of the bush for this ancient people means recognizing the exact moment to back away. It is never a matter of cowardice, but a profound realization that the wilderness does not care about your ego. Occasionally, the woodlands surrender a rare prize: liquid gold. This isn't just a sweet treat, it is raw, unadulterated fuel, purchased with a handful of bee strikes and temporary pain. Hardship is woven into their very existence. The only thing they genuinely shun is taking more than what is absolutely necessary. The moment their hunger is secured for the day, the hunt ends, and they head home. Let us get moving. Over this way. Lethal marksmanship alone doesn't keep this tribe alive. Their secret lies in a profound respect for boundaries, recognizing physical exhaustion, protecting the delicate balance of their clan, and never demanding more than the land can naturally provide. They are a stark contrast to our modern obsession with endless consumption. If their way of life feels utterly alien to us, it isn't because they are somehow stuck in the past, but simply because they are the last people on Earth who still grasp the concept of sufficiency. Well, that just played out. Absolutely unbelievable. Gratitude to the spirits. With the morning frost still dripping the dirt, their circular dwellings blend into the brush, looking almost like woven avian sanctuaries. Twigs are carefully coaxed into arches and thatched with dried foliage. The entire structure sweeps low to the soil, acting as an insulating shell against the chill. Dwellings stand shoulder to shoulder. You won't find a single barrier or property line here. The true heat of the camp isn't radiating from the hearths. It generates from the unbreakable bond of a community breathing as one. The sun breaches the horizon, calling the trackers into the open. Woven crowns of animal pelt and plant fibers wrap their foreheads, silent testaments to decades spent mastering the wild. Weathered, blackened pelts drape across their collarbones, permanently dyed by the sweat and dust of countless seasons. These aren't ornamental garments. They are visceral proof that genuine power is never spoken aloud. It is earned through blood, patience, and endless miles trekked deep within the heart of the wilderness. Their grip tightens on unpolished timber and high-tension sinews. Every single projectile point was meticulously honed long before the first light cracked the sky. The hunt begins now. They slip into the timberland, walking single file. The formation is tight, no stragglers, no lone wolves breaking rank. I see you up there. Gazes drop to the dirt. Fingertips brush the earth, reading the invisible trails. A macaque shifts high in the branches. Timber creaks as tension builds on the weapon. A sudden, sharp release, and the missile slices through the air in absolute deadly silence. Tomorrow might bring a pursuit for swift gazelles. The tactics remain unchanged. A synchronized, creeping march forward. Words are useless here. A shared intuition, forged in the fires of 1,000 previous stalks, guides their every step. Once they breach the fatal strike zone, the wood bends back. A clean hit drops the grazer right in the middle of a sunlit patch. Ambition is a death sentence in this ecosystem. Certain apex shadows are meant to be bypassed completely, like the spotted ghost of the canopy. Just another day. Their entire philosophy rejects senseless aggression. True brilliance lies in mapping out exactly where a killing machine's territory begins. Clashing with one isn't something to brag about. It is an absolute last resort, triggered only when the entire village faces imminent slaughter. You cannot take hydration for granted in this brutal terrain. Hands violently carve into the dried riverbed until the hidden aquifers slowly seep over. It provides just enough to quench their thirst and wash away the dust. Could it be myself? Back at the settlement, flames roar to life. The fresh catch is arranged around the hearth as everyone gathers close, sharing food, trading stories, and chuckling quietly into the night. Absolute silence. Modern society constantly wrestles nature into submission using screens, strict regulations, and an endless rush. Yet, these hunter-gatherers follow just one golden rule: tune in and flow with the earth.
Caught in the
Beyond
branches.
this
We
wilderness,
must free it
humanity
quickly.
hoards endless possessions while drifting completely out of touch with one another. In this bushland, they extract strictly what is necessary, split every bite fairly, and ensure nobody has forgotten a masterclass in humanity. True endurance means functioning as a unified tribe, realizing we merely belong to the wild rather than ruling over it. Blistering warmth, sweltering air. The morning sun creeps across the northern Tanzanian plains, though these nomads are already miles ahead of the sunrise. Numbering a mere 1,500 souls, they sustain themselves entirely off the land, echoing a 50,000-year-old ancestral rhythm. A single tracking expedition pushes the men over 11 kilometers on foot, never to claim territory, simply to bring dinner home for their loved ones. Their existence reveals the profound beauty of having almost nothing, possessing immense self-control, and placing the tribe above any selfish desire. Long before stepping into the brush, the men gather to craft their weaponry. You will not find factories or steel blades here. Their entire arsenal comes from baked timber, beast tendons, sticky sap, and sharpened rocks. Each component is painstakingly whittled down with absolute focus. Textbooks do not exist for this craftsmanship, nor are there any classrooms. It is pure muscle memory, bred from countless generations of repeating the process until it runs in their blood. A few tips get slathered in toxic botanical saps not as a flex of supremacy, but to guarantee a swift takedown. In this bushland, stalking prey is never about asserting dominance over the earth. This is a raw transaction for life, a delicate dance where massive stakes and deep respect forever walk side by side. Stepping into the dense thicket, they become ghosts. They space themselves flawlessly, their footfalls whispering into absolute quiet.
Almost.
Deepest
The fat is rendering
gratitude.
nicely.
A wild serval prowls by like a shadow, its amber gaze catching the dawn's glow. Nobody even flinches. To this tribe, brushing past predators is just another Tuesday. The woodland is not some pretty scenery. It is a communal living room where mankind is just another tenant. Tracking a massive, hyper-aware kudu antelope might consume an entire afternoon or drag on for days. Zero shouting, zero wasted movements. The second that string snaps forward, the beast drops. It is a solemn nod to the truth of the wild. One heart stops beating so an entire camp can keep pulsing. Trekking homeward, they
Almost
scout
there,
hollowed
keep
logs
moving.
for wild nectar. Thick clouds of bees erupt, quickly subdued by burning embers. Chuckles blend with the inevitable bug bites. This sweet syrup fuels their grueling treks, serving as the ultimate prize for their grit and readiness to embrace danger. The pale whites. Hey there. Greetings. Dinner kicks off the second they arrive. Forget cookware or dining chairs, the flesh gets tossed right onto the blazing coals. Fingers serve as forks, and every mouthful is split evenly. Nobody hides a stash for later, because in this culture, stocking up does not equate to safety. When the sun rises again, they will lean on the wilderness exactly as they did this afternoon. The most striking revelation is the deep sense of wholeness born from a life without clutter, where an entire community intimately understands the exact definition of enough. These tribesmen are not untamed savages roaming aimlessly, regardless of what our civilized society might assume. Their entire reality operates on strict boundaries. The physical breaking point, the woodland's capacity, and basic necessity. Watching this unhurried flow, the real mystery is not how they managed to cheat extinction, but whether our so-called advanced culture choking on endless luxury even remembers how to endure the centuries to come. Moving forward, scorching, absolutely blistering. Imagine a reality devoid of smartphones, bank accounts, or your local grocery aisles. How long could you realistically sustain yourself? A couple of weeks? If you are incredibly lucky? Yet deep within the Tanzanian wilderness, the Hadza people have thrived under these exact, unforgiving conditions for 50,000 uninterrupted years. Come along with me for 24 gripping hours alongside this remarkable tribe, diving into an environment where a single footprint, the faintest rustle, and every split-second choice literally dictates whether you will feast or starve. Rising alongside the dawn, they consume purely what the wilderness provides, moving to an ancient heartbeat that completely predates modern society. You will not find any ticking clocks or social hierarchies here. Alright, let us jump right in. Whoops, that is entirely on me. Their pursuit kicks off in dead quiet. Slipping out of their settlement like ghosts, they brace themselves for whatever the untamed bush throws their way. Look over here. Understood. Rather than speaking, they communicate through a unique, silent system of distinct clicks and whistles. These expert trackers typically splinter into tighter units, maintaining precise spacing so their quarry remains completely oblivious. Words vanish entirely. Nothing remains but unyielding, laser-focused observation. Analyzing the most microscopic clues, they run their fingers across the parched earth, brilliantly interpreting the unseen path of their target. This morning, those footprints might just lead to a pack of roaming baboons. Once the perfect, fleeting window opens, they let their shafts fly. Walking with the weightlessness of a phantom is absolutely mandatory. There is zero haste involved. Every single motion carries profound purpose. Let us keep moving. It just hit me. This pursuit has nothing to do with sport or thrills.
It's fresh.
It is an undeniable, brutal necessity for their continued existence. Suddenly, the tribesmen reduce their pace. The scout up front gestures for a dead halt. Danger is lurking close by. An untamed woodland elephant. Absolutely colossal and fiercely territorial. A single miscalculation right now could easily trigger a catastrophic tragedy for all of us. To this indigenous group, picking a battle is rarely the smartest path. Instead, they pivot towards securing hydration, locating incredibly pristine, natural water sources. Is she seriously doing that? Please quit it. They only haul their catch back to the settlement after guaranteeing the entire community will have plenty to eat. Within mere seconds, a roaring blaze is sparked to life. Cuts of game are tossed straight onto the open crackling wood. Zero fancy culinary tricks. Yet, it is not the flavor that leaves a lasting impression on me. It is their profound sense of communal distribution. Nobody claims individual ownership over the harvest. Every single morsel gets split with absolute fairness. It is truly mind-blowing. Carve off a slice for me. These people are far from being just forgotten relics of history. They represent an entirely different, beautiful manifestation of humanity itself. They thrive in a reality where working together totally eclipses rivalry, where having just enough always beats endless greed. Here, the earth is never viewed as an enemy to defeat, but rather a profound teacher that demands our utmost attention. There you go. Praise the heavens. Absolutely not. Head straight up that incline. Morning break without any alarms, signaled solely by the breeze and the faint scent of yesterday's campfires rolling across northern Tanzania's Yaeda Valley. Long before the first rays pierced the sky, the tribesmen have already shaken off their slumber. Devoid of itineraries or strict routines, they rely completely on pure, ingrained instincts tied directly to the woodland. Mother Nature refuses to reveal her secrets to just anyone. She only speaks to those truly willing to pay attention. Just native chatter. Their bowstrings are meticulously woven from dried animal sinew. Dipped in potent botanical toxins, their tiny projectiles are not designed for an instant kill, but rather to gradually drain their quarry's strength over time. Zero showing off, zero wasted breath. Losing your stamina already? One of the elders raises a weapon permanently stained from decades of handling. The expedition sets off. The stalk begins. They target minor catches, securing just enough sustenance for the present day. The idea of hoarding simply does not compute. There is purely your. Shift your stance. There it is. Swing around. Perfect. The shaft releases into the air. A mere whisper follows, like a falling leaf grazing the dirt. The catch is lifted upward with solemn respect. A fleeting moment of quiet gratitude hangs in the air. Energy transfers from one spirit to another. Simple, undeniable reality. Let us move. Pick up the pace. Massive impressions in the dirt, shattered limbs, and the rich scent of disturbed soil tell a story. Here, the great tuskers are far more than mere beasts. They are the living, breathing archives of the wilderness. When paths cross, the hunters alter their course, never from terror, but from a profound respect for nature's borders. To put it in today's terms, you could think of it as a biological supercomputer, programmed by endless generations of tracking, remembering, and adapting to the wild. The ancient baobab towers above, serving as the physical history of the savanna. Its massive, bloated core safeguards precious moisture, practically capturing centuries within its bark. Up the hunters go. Zero harnesses, zero modern gear. Just bare skin against wood, fueled by an unbreakable bond forged with the canopy. Hidden far inside the timber rests the comb. Liquid gold trickles out, heated and thick. Nothing is hurried, nothing is wasted, even as the swarm attacks. Billowing ash forces the defenders to retreat. It is a well-known sacrifice, enduring the bites to secure the vital fuel needed for the grueling hours to come. Nothing but open flames. The fresh cuts are laid right onto the scorching coals. Driven entirely by appetite and patience, fingers tear into the feast, distributed with absolute equality. Nobody claims the prime cuts. Nobody takes an early bite. Sustenance is never owned. It is a profound, shared experience. There is zero ego involved. Just the collective will to see another sunrise. Imagine standing here, your device is useless, completely cut off from the grid. You might possess an education, but you lack primal intuition. Your head is full of facts, yet this wilderness remains an absolute mystery to you. 24 hours fade into 48, and suddenly the real questions emerge. Which way is the nearest stream? What secrets does the breeze carry? What unseen force is driving that flock across the sky? These indigenous masters never view their existence as a desperate struggle to stay alive. This is simply their reality. The jungle does not put them on trial. Instead, the landscape embraces them entirely, simply because they never severed their roots from the earth. Absolutely incredible. What a rush. Deep within the isolated stretches of the Tanzanian bush, stripping away the paved roads, towering concrete, and any margin for error, a remarkable people known as the Hadza fiercely preserve a daily rhythm that has echoed identically for dozens of millennia. Possessions do not exist here. There is only the untamed environment and the ancestral wisdom needed to navigate its dangers. They stand tall as one of the final true foraging societies left on this fragile planet. Each choice they make from dawn until dusk is steered by an intimate mastery of the terrain, the wildlife, and the shifting climate. Staying alive here relies absolutely zero on modern gadgets, leaning entirely on the bloodline of wisdom handed over from ancient ancestors. When the morning light breaks the horizon, the camp stirs in silence. They rise from primitive huts woven entirely from timber, parched weeds, and tough pelts. Preparations for the day's pursuit begin immediately. Warriors meticulously check every inch of their crafted wood and tension strings. Several tips are coated in lethal sap bled directly from indigenous flora. To this tribe, a projectile is far more than a simple tool of death. It represents the ultimate fusion of ancestral genius and raw survival. Crafting and firing these requires a level of flawless accuracy that borders on the divine. A hunter must perfectly identify the deadliest leaves, calculate the exact potency needed, and possess the relentless endurance to follow a wounded target. Make a mathematical error with the poison, and it is not just a missed meal. It equates to wiping out an entire 24 hours of sustenance for the whole village.
Well, we're still here.
Chasing down game here is never about flexing brute strength. It is a masterclass in relentless calm and hyper-vigilant surveillance. They decipher the stories left by disturbed dirt, snapped twigs, and the most microscopic rustles hiding in the brush. Understood. Not a single clue is ignored. One tiny miscalculation drains irreplaceable stamina and easily invites death. Step over this way. Far out on the horizon, the distinct silhouette of a massive antelope slowly materializes. Muscles tense as the bowstring pulls back. Their venom-coated projectiles are not designed for a sudden drop. Rather, they force the beast into a grueling, hours-long marathon until total fatigue inevitably takes over. You will never see a frantic pursuit here. To the Hadza people, staying alive has absolutely nothing to do with rushing. Once in a great while, these master trackers cross paths with the absolute most formidable threats on the continent. Enter the Cape Buffalo, a colossal and highly volatile giant that unleashes explosive counterattacks the second it feels cornered. Facing down this beast leaves zero room for even the slightest miscalculation. Returning to camp empty-handed is simply part of the rhythm, and these bushmen deeply embrace that fact. Each footfall is entirely deliberate, and choices carry immense gravity, because claiming a soul is a profoundly sacred act for this tribe. It represents a deeply solemn obligation. Ah, look at that. When the rains completely vanish, vital hydration becomes almost impossible to find. Streams evaporate entirely, baking the earth into a fractured crust that any foreigner would easily dismiss as a barren wasteland. Yet for the Hadza, pure salvation is secretly waiting just a few inches beneath that dusty terrain. Every harvest is divided equally, so no single soul goes hungry, and wisdom is never taught in a classroom. It is literally breathed and experienced through their daily struggles. Without a single piece of modern luxury, these gatherers manage to forge an absolutely unbreakable bond with each other, alongside a profoundly intimate communion with the wild. While the rest of humanity blindly races toward tomorrow, this community stands permanently anchored in ancient customs that have thrived for millennia. Make no mistake, their existence is brutally tough. It is intensely grueling, packed with lethal hazards, and completely merciless. Yet it overflows with genuine purpose. Observing their daily rhythm is definitely not an exercise in time travel. Rather, it forces us all to face a highly contemporary dilemma. Did our technological leaps actually improve our existence? Or do they simply detach us from the very essence of being human? By witnessing their raw resilience, we might finally recognize the pieces of our own souls that slipped away, realizing exactly what is truly worth fighting to protect. You are now witnessing the world of Bangana.